Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the special edition, the New Year's Day edition of Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Tuesdays is usually Beyond BMR, and you know what, everybody? I was just under the weather, and I don't cancel shows. I slept 19 hours. I missed New Year's Eve, missed New Year's Day. I had the big COVID. My mom's laid up in the hospital, getting better. Nothing to worry about. I thank all you for the prayers you sent out over the weekend. Hopefully, I can pick her up in a day or two. Just wasn't into it, but I knew I had this show in my back pocket for New Year's Day because I have a treat for you to start the new year. Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio will be joining myself and the lovely Krista for an awesome way to kick off the new year. I've got some history with Dave. I've known him well before I started podcasting. He's kind of a guy I follow, a mentor of mine. He's got great stories, great insight, has a fabulous show, 5 days, Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock Eastern, 9 Central, and he has two fabulous weekend shows, Saturday and Sunday, to take care of business 7 days a week. You can find Dave Scott, Spaced Out Radio. Please subscribe if you have not already. Thank you for that. And of course, if you have not subscribed to Bigfoot Michigan Rob found on YouTube, please subscribe. I did hit my Christmas goal, you guys. I'm a little disappointed, but it was a lofty goal. I'm about 50 subscribers away from 5,000. The magic number, so they say on YouTube, is 5. Helps promote you out a little more. So thank you for that. If you're new, please subscribe to the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast found on YouTube as well. Texas Front Porch found on YouTube. We're on like 7 days a week ourselves, all of us combined. And here's the thing. I don't give out the schedules. The alert bell is key. The alert bell, turn it on, hit it all so you don't miss a show. Because frankly, guys, I've looked it up. 11% of you have the alert bell on. Yeah, only 11%. Let's get that up to 15%. That's all. Just 4%. Thank you for that. Thank you for taking your time New Year's Day to come on in. And before I get started, we've got a little business to take care of. I want to thank each and every one of you that made my Christmas very pleasurable. Yes, that's right. My books, I did a fantastic job in the month of December. Bigfoot Michigan represents True Cryptid Encounters Book 1, which has been out for 1 year and 4 months. And Book 2 has been out since the beginning of September. Type Bigfoot Michigan Rob in your Amazon browser. I also have a link in my profile. Leave a review. Is much like YouTube analytics, Amazon analytics will help promote the books. Subscribe. You can find us on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and wherever podcasts are found. Before I bring up Dave, I'll bring up Krista in a moment because we have something else we have to talk about briefly. You all know we started promoting this December 1st. It is the Crossing Realms Conference, UFOs, Paranormal, and Cryptids, September 19th and 20th at the Eagleton Civic Center found in Richmond, Missouri. The whole team will be there. BMR, Kristen Brandy, Tex, Donnie Cho, Paranormal Paul, Monica Rollins, Daniel Diva, just to name a few. And also one of our sponsors, Doug Hijack from Monster Quest. He's putting up a sponsor for us, which is fantastic. Our lineup is fantastic. And we'll get to, when I bring up Krista, we'll talk a little more about our lineup because we've added some special guests. But Josh Hurd, filmmaker and author, lecturer, will be there. Heather Mosier, small town Monsters producer, will be there. We've got Frankie and Dan from the Haunted Garage joining us, and Frankie and Dan are bringing a haunted car to the event to check out. That'll be cool. Of course, everyone knows and loves the Bearded Wonder, Tex Wesson, researcher, podcaster. He's the master of ceremonies. We also have Ronald Murphy as a speaker, Lady Ann Celine, William Lunsford, Greg Ogles, filmmaker, researcher, Dr. Dean Bertram, UFO guy. He did a show with Tex and I the other night about the Shaver Report. He'll be talking about that and other crazy things. Special guests, Dana Stricker, Ken Gerhard, Brent Thomas from the Paranormal Portal, plus my gang, all of our gang, and you out there listening on. With that being said, I'm going to bring up the lovely Krista.
Hey.
How are ya?
I'm good. I'm good. I was just typing in chat, telling everybody hello. So I apologize now if I forgot, if I passed somebody. I didn't mean to.
We always apologize. I love everybody in chat. You guys help drive the show, but also, more importantly, not that the chat folks are not important. The people that don't participate in chat, the people that are watching it now, they don't come in chat. Maybe they listen on the podcast. Maybe they watch the replay. You are as important. You help drive the shows. Love to each and every single one of you. Don't forget the super chat's open. Also a great way to help support what we do. And you can become a BMR pirate. Join today, mateys. That's right. You know what you get? Well, you get a picture of BMR sporting a bandana, an extra name in the chat room. Thank you for that. Join the many, join the few, depending on your point of view, right? And, and I'm really excited. And also before we bring out my buddy Dave, Krista, we're also doing a ghost hunt that Saturday night, and we're sold out already of tickets. Can you believe that?
We're absolutely sold out. Yeah. Which is always, hey, I'm all cool about, most of the time when Brandy and I do events, we do sell out. However, it's usually like the week of, we're selling out. This is like, we're still like, how many months away? Like 9 months away. And we are sold out of the ghost hunt. We still have conference tickets and the meet and greet, but we are sold out of the ghost hunt.
Yeah, and that's in September. The ghost hunt sold out, but tickets will be available up into and including the day of the conference. And another cool thing, all the speakers, Krista, which is unheard of. Typically, when speakers come in, they do their spiel and they take off, right? They are also all going to attend the ghost hunt.
Yes, as well as the special guests are coming to there also.
I think I'm looking forward to this. I'm really excited about it. As I am always seeing you guys again. And so, everybody check it out. The links are posted on all of our channels and so on and so forth. We got time. You have time to save. It's in September.
And we added some special guests also. So I don't know if you mentioned the special guest or not, but we have Ken Gerhard. We have Dana Stricker. She's psychic medium. She'll be doing readings all throughout the day. Brent Thomas, as you said, Paranormal Portal. Ryan Edwards, we've added him. Okay. And Mike Familiant, he will be coming coming up over there. And then Chris Garitano. So. Oh, wow. Well,
I mean, man, there's going to be 20 people there. They're all fantastic. Much like the people that will be in attendance, which hopefully is a lot of you folks that subscribe to our channels. I'm looking forward to it. And I got to tell you, I'm also looking forward to this show. I'm not going to waste or mince any more words. I'm going to bring up Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Dave.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. If you had asked me this yesterday, I'd have told you terribly. For whatever the reason, I feel better. I'm ready to roll. I slept 16 hours, and I feel the life in me today. I feel the life, and I'm ready to roll on, man. And I hope you enjoyed your New Year's Eve.
I did. Thank you very much. And I am suffering this afternoon. You have to realize I extremely rarely drink alcohol.
Right.
Rarely drink alcohol. And last night, the bottle of Fireball just started calling my name. It was like nothing, and it was like a ghostly presence. Dave, have a sip. Just one. You like my cinnamon taste. Okay. One. Well, one led to 8. And considering I extremely rarely drink and don't hold my liquor very well, this afternoon I'm feeling I'm feeling a little bit tired. Not gonna lie.
Understand.
But I would never ever turn you down, Big Robbie.
Yeah. Well, I know, Dave. We had the schedule a few weeks back, and because you typically come on during my Christmas shows, and our schedules just didn't mix. So I couldn't think of a better guest to start January 1st of 2025. And as I said earlier, and I do mean this in earnest, Dave, I consider you a friend. I've been following you ever since when you were on Spreaker, before you went on YouTube. I used to watch the replays or listen to them on Spreaker. Then you finally went on YouTube, and there he is, Dave Scott. And always been a fan, a friend, which is most important. And I thank you for being under the weather, a little groggy. I thank you for coming on in with me and Krista.
Yep.
I was actually quite looking forward to this. So I know we're going to have a fun time chatting away about a lot of weird, strange things. And in the end, that's way more important.
You know, it is, because people love to come out and listen to the content. I think a lot of our audiences kind of meshed a little bit across, the boards. So for people that don't know, Dave, Spaced Out Radio, subscribe on YouTube, and you can find him on all podcast platforms. And I know that you were mentioning backstage something that you haven't revealed. We'll get into that a little bit in the show. But the question that was on my mind for quite some time, especially with you, actually, because I was thinking about you and during this show, and even Chris is involved in this as well. You and I and Krista, I mean, I know since the age of 5, I've come across paranormal and ghost encounters. I seen a ghost at 5. I seen a UFO at 7 in my backyard, which my mother got me and my brother out of the bed to look at. Later on in life, I got married. I saw a shadow people at my bar, ghosts in my bar. And of course, we all know about my Bigfoot experience which was in 2020. And my paranormal realm seemed to become more enhanced, where I can just see things, it seems, and pick up on things. And I think that I'm more conducive to having experiences, much like you, Krista, right? Since you started doing this for over a decade now. And Dave, I know that you as a younger man growing up had some things, and some of the things that I saw before I got involved with this, I brushed off until I got much older. Now it all comes full circle with me about my past lives. My past life. I'm not suggesting I'm reanimated or, from any other time frame. But Dave, I got this feeling that with you yourself, you've had experiences throughout your life that I don't think that you thought much about until you got more involved in the media. And I think that people like us that have the open minds are more subject to having events, because you've seen it all from cryptids to UFOs and then some. Do you think there's a pattern with people that are like us, open-minded, and once you see something for the first time, you're more open to these things?
Mm-hmm.
It's a deep question to start things off there, Bigfoot Rob. I mean, I think there are people who have awakenings very early in life, whether they're born into it or something happens in childhood which allows them to believe everything that's going on. And then there's people out there, such as myself, who literally take a swift kick in the balls from the phenomena out there and have no choice but to follow what happens, because it is so swift and it is so eye-opening that it affects you in so many different ways. I'll give you an example with me. Like I had seen a UFO. I had worked in a haunted building. I lived in a haunted house. I was a believer, but it wasn't until I was 38 years old when I literally got, punched in the throat by the phenomena that awakened me. And it changes your life drastically. It's not just about a sighting. It's not just about having a minor experience of seeing a strange light in the sky doing figure eights or what have you. And this is before drone technology became popular. It really is about, a life-altering event. And the phenomena, once it gets its claws into you, you have no choice but to follow it. It's like it's destined, it's predetermined. And, if I go back to my life prior to 38 years old, I was literally a happily boring guy. I liked the fact that I could sit down and watch a football game or watch a hockey game or a baseball game on TV. I was really into sports. I was really into poker. I was really into a lot of cool things. And now, like, geez, we're going back 2011 to 2025 now. So 14 years we're going on here. Now, that stuff that I used to love before really seems inept. It seems so basic compared to what we are looking for. And yeah, you have to be prepared for the criticism, the embarrassment, the people who laugh at you, the people who are trying to bring you down because they don't want it to exist or they don't believe it should exist. So you should believe that either. But for those of us who have had great experience of UFOs, of Bigfoot, of Dogman, or whatever it may be, then you need to, or pardon me, you'll understand that this is something that changes you. It changes your DNA of who you are, what's important, and I think that is a big test and a litmus test for a lot of people. I always ask people, pardon me for rambling on here, Rob.
Yeah, no, go.
I always ask people when they say, how do you get into this? I got an interest in the paranormal. I got this, I want to see UFOs. I want to go ghost hunting. I want to go look for Bigfoot. And my question to these people is the same one every time. How far down the rabbit hole do you want to go?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people will say, well, what does that mean? Well, when you get started, if you accept this and you go all in, you don't have a choice. The phenomena takes over. The phenomena dictates what you're going to do and what's going to happen to you. And if you try to hold it back, then you're not really, the phenomena will either push you out or force you into situations that you don't want to be in. And, even my buddy Merle, everybody knows Merle. Merle's a paranormal guy, but he understands that the phenomena is taking him into different directions. And as much as he is fighting that because he loves ghost hunting, he knows that the aliens and the UFOs and the Bigfoot are right around the corner. He's ready to accept Bigfoot, but he's not ready to accept UFOs. And that is something that even the seasoned people who've been in this field still struggle with.
I agree with everything you said with that, because I think how far down the rabbit hole you want to go. And I got to ask you, and I've never told this to anybody ever. First time I'm mentioning this, and maybe you can relate, Dave, maybe even you too, Krista, right? When I first had my Bigfoot experience, it took me a long time. I'm not getting into that story. Most people know it traumatized me for a while because of this certain situation that unfolded. But for the longest time, when I would tell the story, Dave, it seems so far-fetched and out there that I was wondering if people believed me or not. And I still had a phobia about that, being judged and ridiculed. Then after a while, I said, this happened to me. You can't take it from me. And then I grew more confident when I would go on a show or tell it myself again, because I just said, you know what? This happened. Bottom line, take it or leave it. With some of the things you've come across, did you ever feel like that early on when talking maybe about Carl? I'm not going to get in that story, but you know what? I think you get the gist of my question.
I felt a lot of things. You have to, I'm trying to think of the best way to formulate an answer for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's a broader answer than just a personal answer.
Yes.
When you have an experience that you don't even believe yourself happened, it changes you. It makes you feel like you are You are an anomaly. Why did this happen to you? And I always laugh at these skeptics. I'm going to take a little bit of a tangent here.
Okay.
I always like listening to these skeptics who, yeah, and I've had them, you've had them, everybody's had them. Krista, I know you've had them, where, oh, that didn't happen. No, you're making that up. No, that's impossible. Okay. They have no clue what it's like to stand in your shoes.
Right.
And what most skeptics don't understand is when you have an ultimate experience, you never asked for it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you saw, you know what you experienced, you know what you were able to think about at that time. Your memory has, even though it's not perfect, amazing recall
Mm-hmm.
of what went on. You have your own questions that lead you to skepticism. And most people, I would say in the 90% range plus, they are looking for logical answers to what happened. It's not like when you see a Bigfoot walking through the trees that you're like, oh, there's a Bigfoot. Look at that. Hey, I've seen a Bigfoot. In the meantime, it's a black bear, scratching its back against a tree. People have excuses for everything because the skeptics, A, don't want to believe it. 2, are afraid to believe it. C, have never experienced it. And D, they think that anybody who believes in this stuff has blind faith in what's happened.
Right.
And we have to be able to, with an experience, be our own best skeptics. This is why I make fun of paranormal teams a little bit. When you go on their website and you ever notice that they have if you look at their photos, okay, of their team, you have the technician, you have the historian, you have the lead investigator, the apprentice investigator. Then you got some idiot always with his arms crossed like this, looking at you real serious, team skeptic. What the hell do you need a team skeptic for?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Honestly. And why is their photo always the same, standing there with a serious look and their arms crossed?
True story.
And while I'm on that tangent, because we're going to have fun here tonight.
Yeah, let's do it.
While I'm on that tangent, can we please stop taking paranormal? It's always paranormal and cryptid people. Can we please stop taking team photographs with sunglasses on? It doesn't make you look tough. It doesn't make you look okay. It doesn't make you look badass. I don't know why, but that is such a pet peeve of mine, man. It really is, and I don't get it. I don't get it.
I know. I noticed that, but the one thing you brought up, and there's with the guy with the big arms folded, showing the tats, sunglasses on, head tilted back like he's gonna beat you up.
And they're all the same sunglasses. They're all the same hard plastic black wrap sunglasses. Like biker glasses. You know what I'm saying? They're not Ray-Bans. They're not Oakleys. They're some gas station pair of sunglasses that you shouldn't put your eyes behind because the lenses are actually hurting your pupils. Right?
Right.
He's that guy. He's always that guy, man.
Bruce.
It is that guy. But I know, Chris, you don't come across that problem with all your paranormal folks.
I know you too. I agree with Dave 100%.
Look at the smirk on her face. He knows exactly.
I can think of about 5 teams right now.
I'm not saying they're not doing good work.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I'm not saying that whatever. But the cryptid and paranormal world, and I've been hosting for 10 years, and hard to believe I could say
Oh
that now.
boy, no kidding.
The one thing that I have learned is you learn the stereotypes. Okay. You learn the stereotypes. Like, for instance, I know, and I'm going to piss some people off here, Rob, but it's 2025.
It happens. Start the new year pissing people off. It's the unscripted offbeat show today.
Right? If you're a paranormal team and you use the word science, I already know your investigation is BS. I already know that you are an enthusiast group who is out there looking for fun and adventure.
Yep.
And this is going to piss more people off, and you're going to get a lot of comments on this because I get ripped every time I say this. And Rob, you know what's coming.
Right.
You're a Bigfooter, a Bigfoot group, and you are looking for Squatch or squatching or anything like that.
Oh my Lord, yes.
I already know I can't take your investigation seriously.
Yeah.
Because when you're using trigger words, it's like people who use the term UAP in ufology.
Yeah.
We're always looking for cliche words that are going to keep us in the present, in the know, popular, rather than just keeping it the way it is.
Yeah.
And
what's wrong with UFO? Like, why go to UAP? UFO worked. We all knew what we were talking about. Now UAP. No sense.
I have had a couple people on the inside about the UAP thing. And this is how I developed my opinion on it. Because I started noticing, especially in 2023, how they would say, you know, this isn't UFOs or UAP on a situation. Right. The minute you split the two acronyms, you're talking about two different things. And I started seeing government people do that, military people do that. Mm-hmm. So I asked a couple of my sources deep inside, you know, I'm starting to think, and I said to this, I said, I'm starting to think there's a difference. And I was saying it publicly on SOR, and they're like, there is. It's just people aren't catching on. You know, eventually we made a T-shirt, you know, that says, you know, UFOs are alien and UAPs are man-made objects.
I agree.
You know, but people use UAP because that's what all the top brass are using, and we got to make it sound professional because UFOs means flying saucers and little green men and alien abduction. I'm on a tangent here, man.
No, it's Dave. You're on a good tangent. People are loving it. I'm loving it, and I agree 100%. You know, I still say flying saucer when I describe what I seen when I was 7 years old, and I have maybe once or twice a month a ufologist, if you will, or a UFO person on, simply because my show is a variety show now. I do everything, but you know, when it says Bigfoot, Mr. Rob, I always gotta sell them. I know I do it all. Please, I'm not just a cryptid guy, which kind of I'm pigeonholed with that. But yeah, UAP just turns me off because, like you said, that's more of a governmental thing. And anytime I watch any of these governmental, when they have the what do you call them? When they all get together in the roundtable discussion, we all seen on TV. Same thing I've heard over and over and over again, Dave. You know, I mean, am I wrong to say that, or do you agree to some extent?
Same old, man.
Yeah.
You know, and Nicole Sackich, who, in my opinion, is one of the top UFO researchers out there. She has a great saying. Okay. She calls the UAP people 2017ers. So up until 2017, everything was UFO. And then Tom DeLonge and his little gimmick, the To the Stars Academy, came out. And then we heard, you know, Hillary Clinton talking about it on, you know, in 2015, it started where she's like, we don't call UFOs anymore. We call them UAP. right? And then 2017 happened with DeLong and his little shindig. And then the New York Times article came out, UAP this, UAP that. Well, because it garnered a lot of attention from people who had never worked or played in the UFO world before, they came into this, man, I got to figure out what these UAPs are. And those people have done tremendous, many of them have done tremendous work. I think of Jason Gilmet, I think of Vinnie Adams, Joe Murgia, Danny Silva, Jeremy Corbell, and many, many, many others.
Yes.
Okay. But you never hear them say UFO. There are UAP this, UAP that.
Right.
And prior to 2017, that's where the great divide is. Because most 2017ers, they don't know the history, and they don't, outside of the Nimitz incident in 2004, they don't care to know the history of this subject, which is why people like Grant Cameron and Richard Dolan and many others have been kind of pushed down the ledge a little bit, or down the hill a little bit, because the UAPers have kind of taken over. And then with the emergence of people like Lou Elizondo and David Grush and Chris Mellon and many, many others, now the Congress taking a strong initiative on this, that's where we are now seeing this whole UAP thing kind of blow up. But there is a difference. There is a difference between you, even with the drone thing that's happening in New Jersey. You have people saying, we know this isn't UFOs, but these are UAP we need to investigate. Well, if it's not a UFO, how can it be a UAP? Or how can a UFO be a UAP? Right?
Right.
So that's just one of the examples. And I know there's going to be people who, we butt heads on semantics on that. I'm okay with that. But
I'm okay with that. I'm in agreement with you 100%. And here's another thing. When you talk about, even when I get so kind of, it's the same yet different. You talk about these cryptid researchers, Bigfoot researchers is what I'm talking about, that have been out there 30 years, 25, 30 plus years, and they have blinders on. They won't revert, and they're just in the aper camp, Dave. I mean, I get and respect their opinion, but what we've seen, the people I've had on shows, who you've had on shows, my personal experiences, and other people, if you bring up something paranormal about it, the woo factor about it, they don't want to hear from you. And that just grinds my gears that you can't be open-minded, because Bigfoot to me is not some dumb ape in the woods, Dave. It is something that is, I will say, a flesh and blood entity with paranormal abilities. I had Ron Moorhead on a couple times, and he said, Rob, years ago, and this is Ron Moorhead saying this, 30 years ago, Rob, if you just said, hey, man, I think there's some woo associated with Bigfoot, he would have turned me around and said, thank you, young man, but I'm not talking to you anymore. I had him on a show not too long ago, and now he is one of the few guys who's open-minded. He believes in that quantum Bigfoot. He believes that they can take that energy and convert it to mass and travel. He believes in portals. He even went as far to say, Dave, that he even believes that they could possibly be alien. I respect that, but these guys that Bigfoot's an aper and it's just boots on the ground, hard work, which, by the way, boots on the ground, now I'm going on a tangent, that boots on the ground to me, we got to find a different word for that, I think. Maybe it's just me, and I get it. I respect the work being done in the field, but that's so overdone, over dramatic. So again, it's my little tangent pet peeve, but what do you think about that, man?
I think that's a great point. The problem with these fields as they become a lot more popular, maybe it's not a problem. Maybe it's just being inquisitive. The majority of people, and I actually said this on SOR the other night, the majority of people who look into Bigfoot, they're keyboard warriors. They're not, they don't know a forest. They've never been in the peninsula of Michigan. where it's literally forest after forest after forest and trees after trees after trees. They've never been to British Columbia where I am, where, 10 minutes down the road, you're already in the forest where you're not going to see a person or a human for the rest of the day. They've never been to Washington or Oregon or Northern California. They've never been to the forests of New York or in Northern Ontario or wherever it may be. They are literally working this entire field on what they are seeing with videos that are put on YouTube, videos that are put on TikTok, AI images, everything like that. Um, we literally are at that point now where is it even worth putting any type of evidence on social media? And I ask both of you and I ask your audience, be critical about this question. If you had the smoking gun video of Bigfoot, would you release it to the public? Now, 90% of the people plus are going to say, yeah, I'll release it.
I wouldn't.
Absolutely, I would release it.
Yeah, my answer is no. I would not.
I wouldn't either.
And let me tell you, since I'm your guest, let me tell you why.
You're the guest, Dave. You're the featured man. Spaced Out Radio. If not, subscribe to Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio.
I appreciate
Please
that.
do so 7 days a week,
Yeah.
Monday through Friday. Get Dave. He's got a great weekend show as well. So hit the alert bell. Turn on your alert bell for Dave to catch him.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Dave.
I'm having a lot of fun, Robbie. I really needed this today, Robbie.
All right. Well, I'm glad. Thank you. I had a lot of fun too.
But the reason why I would not release it is because if you look at what happened in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s to Bob Gimlin and Roger Patterson,
Mm-hmm.
they were getting death threats. Their children were getting death threats. Their grandchildren were being threatened all over a frickin' Bigfoot video.
Yeah.
All over a Bigfoot video. They never capitalized on it. So could you imagine going through that in today's day and age where people are so hypersensitive, putting out that smoking gun video of Bigfoot and literally getting your ass handed to you for the rest of your life? Your kids getting their butts handed to them, your grandchildren having to live that legacy of you being the nut bar Bigfoot guy who allegedly admitted to lying about the video, lying about everything. It's ridiculous. I just would never do it. Never do it.
Yep. Agreed. 100%.
I would do that for the same reason, and then you'll get people out there, Rob, you're only doing that to promote your channel, get more subs. People think like that way, Dave. They do, so, and, you mentioned this a lot, Dave, during your shows. And you mean this, and I agree with your statement when you say this. You also, that's your personal experience, and you're keeping it to yourself and a little bit selfish, perhaps, right? But you've said it. It's not my words. And I'm the same way with that. I would not want any outlandish statements brought up, this, that, and the other, because, it's my experience. I'm going to take it in and I'm going to enjoy it. Right. Because that's not wrong to say.
I don't think it's wrong to say, like I take a lot of heat when I go into my Bigfoot areas. People are always like, well, you don't bring in cameras. Where's your evidence? Where's your proof? Well, that's a whole different conversation right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because most people don't understand there is a major difference between evidence and proof.
Yep.
Okay, and there is no proof in this field. There is zero proof in this field. I don't care what anybody says. I will argue that to my dying breath. There's no proof, but there is evidence. But people can't. Most people, I shouldn't say most, a lot of people out there cannot decipher between the two. But when I go into my Bigfoot area, I'm not a researcher. Right. I am an enthusiast where I don't care if anybody believes me. I know what I saw. I know what I had and on my show, because I'm a radio show that tells stories. I am not a hardcore proof kind of guy, even though we do try to vet our guests to make sure that their stories are credible. We don't want people coming on being idiots about it.
Mhm.
Okay. But we try to bring on people who have the ultimate experience. And I don't care if I capture anything on video. I don't. Now that's going to be different coming up in my project here this year that I'm
Yes.
going to be doing, because I have to flip the tides on that. But I am for the most part, I've always been an enthusiast.
Mhm.
If I go into the forest looking for Bigfoot, I sit in my lawn chair.
Yep,
I wait
absolutely.
for them to come around, and then when they do, I stand up. And then I start talking to them, saying, hey, come on over. Now, whether they do or not, that's up to them. But I'm not here to take advantage of it. I'm not here to get that Todd Standing ghillie suit wearing, running through the creek type of bullshit. Pardon. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're
It's all good.
you
Okay.
should be fine. I don't think you'll be knocked down. No, I agree. And you know what? My phone's ringing. I got to slip away for my mom is calling. She's in a hospital. It'll be 30 a minute with her. I apologize. You two carry on. Then I do want to segue. Hang on, Ma. Then I got to segue into something else that you just brought up. With that being said, I got to talk to Ma real quick. She's
Yeah.
in a hospital. I'll be right back.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, Ma, I'm coming.
All right. All right. Go ahead and continue. That was.
So as an enthusiast,
Mhm.
I'm there for the experience. I'm there to just take it all in. I'm trying to be a sponge on whatever happens, and letting the nature take its course.
Well, and you mentioned about not showing, this great, perfect evidence. Another reason I wouldn't is because, my true friends know, like I wouldn't fake anything, so I would show them. However, you put it out there on, say, YouTube, everybody's gonna say it's AI, it's fake, so, that's another reason why I wouldn't do that.
Well, and you know what? You bring up a really good point there that we need to start discussing in 2025. And I started it on my show. I'm not sure if you have or not on yours, Krista, but I know this is on your mind. The experiencer's experience now has always, or the last number of years, has been shredded. I'm going to say the word shredded by people who say, you have no proof, you have no evidence, show us your proof. I see it all the time in my chat room from certain people. Where's your proof? When a guest comes on, show us the pictures. Well, number one, us being a radio show, you can't show pictures on radio.
Right.
And I have to continuously remind my audience that we're not here for YouTube. We are here for my 8 radio stations that broadcast our show across North America. Okay. Right. And there's no way, you know how bad it looks on radio if I were to put up a picture, like say we're on terrestrial radio and I put up a picture right now and say, yeah, here's the picture. What's the radio audience going to say? They're going to say, oh, great. So I'm listening to a YouTube show on radio.
Right.
That's amateur.
Right. And then if they're listening to it on radio, they may not want to continue to listen because you show pictures and they can't see them,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's why. But with AI coming in, I think what's going to happen is I think it's going to push for a lot more experiencer stories, because that is the only thing that is going to be somewhat credible in giving you the lead to an area or to what's happened. And AI is ruining that.
Sure.
Because we're going to see really impressive videos of UFOs and aliens and Bigfoot that we're not going to be able to tell. I mean, this is literally going back to the movie of Arnold Schwarzenegger's Running Man. Where, remember, if you've seen the movie Running Man from what is that, 1990 or whatever that is, 1990, where literally they AI'd video of him. They called him the Butcher of Bakersfield because he was allegedly flying a helicopter, gunning down people with machine guns.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. They made that up.
Right.
That's what we're getting into here.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, we are, and thank you for that brief departure by myself. I want to segue into something else we talked about backstage, Dave, which I appreciate you bringing that up because I think this would be fantastic. Before we move on, please subscribe to Bigfoot Mr. Rob if you're new here at the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast, Texas Front Porch. Dave Scott Spaced Out Radio. Please subscribe if you're new. Hit that like button. Thanks to Scott for gifting 5 new pirate members. Paranormal Pixie, a member. Paranormal Laura, you're a new member. I didn't know that. I thought
Had to renew, I think she said.
She renewed. Kelly Lewis, 7 months. Diane for your awesome super chat. I love and appreciate all you guys. Thanks for coming in. Donations not expected at all. Always appreciated to help make the show, the channel better. I appreciate that. Hit that like button on your way out, and of course, subscribe if you're new. Thank you so much. Thank you to Dave Scott for taking time out of his New Year's Day. A little under the weather from the festivities last night, so I always appreciate you, Dave, for coming on in.
Oh, no worries. Thank you for having me again, my man.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have the pleasure of talking about something, and Dave, you can go however you want with this because some of this we can't get into all of it. Some of it's kind of exclusive, but you were telling me about a very frightening event, and I think you named it Flight 21, I believe. So look for that on the Dave Scott channel coming up soon. If you want to get a little into that, what you can talk about, I'd like to hear this, man.
Okay, so there's twofold to this.
Okay.
I am going to be switching my hat from enthusiast to actual crash test dummy / researcher coming up in May.
Wow.
Okay.
And there's an area where I live in central British Columbia that we call Flight 21. And on June 8th, 1965, a McDonnell Douglas DC-6 airplane from Canadian Pacific Airlines, which is now defunct, took off from Vancouver, heading way north up to Whitehorse, Yukon. It was a full plane. There were 52 people on board. And from where I am here, I'm going to say 40 miles southwest of here, the plane blew up in the sky.
Wow.
And it caused a forest fire. And at that time, when the plane crashed into the forest, that area didn't have a single logging road into it.
Oh, man.
Okay, so even if there were survivors, the plane fell from about 10,000 feet, hurtled to the ground. 52 people died that day. And to this day, it is still in an open investigation as Canada's largest unsolved mass murder.
Wow.
Because there was a bomb on board that plane. Now, when we hear that statement today, we immediately think that it was terrorism involved, that there was something nefarious. This is going back where there's a few different angles on what happened, who placed the bomb. And one of the theories is that a husband and wife had traveled to Vancouver for their divorce proceedings. The husband didn't want to get divorced. The wife did. And on the way back home, or before the flight, he had built a bomb, put it in a briefcase or a suitcase, and planned on blowing her and him up when they got back. But the bomb ended up going off on the plane. There's other theories about this as well, but nonetheless, 52 people died in this area. Now, in my town, there are still people who suffer from trauma of that day. People who've been around here a while, including one of the ladies who owns one of the hair salons in town, whose parents were actually on that plane.
Wow.
So it's very intriguing. It's a very weird piece of history. And one of the first paranormal investigations I actually did up here was at the old RCMP depot. So we don't call ours the RCMP. We don't call them police stations. We call them depots. It's just the way history has always been. And the old RCMP depot, they had a cellar underneath because they couldn't fit all the bodies morgue. So they actually took some of the bodies and put them in the cellar of the depot. And I've actually investigated there, and it's pretty wild. I wouldn't say it's scary. It's pretty wild.
Okay.
Right. So in 2018, do you want me to get into the story now, or do you want me to keep describing it?
I'm loving the description.
Yeah.
Wherever you want to roll it, Dave, it's fine. Like I say, my guests always have the floor. First priority.
Okay. So in 2018, my buddy Merle, everybody knows Merle from Spaced Out Radio. He's like, has a paranormal investigation ever been done there? And we were like, I don't know, man. I really don't know. And so we went there. And we were investigating there for about 90 minutes. And there was Merle, myself, and my friend Mark, who in that area. Now, for your audience, it's going to sound like I'm bouncing around a lot, but I am going to try and provide an opportunity to paint a picture for you.
Thanks.
In that area, we are in the middle of nowhere. Okay, you don't see people there. Rarely do you see people on the logging roads. And this is a side road that you would drive by, and you would miss it if you didn't know it was there. That's how in the dense forest that you in. Where I live, there's a population of about, in the vicinity, maybe 5,000 people, 4,000 people.
Wow.
And that isn't a lot of people when you're talking, hundreds of thousands, millions of hectares of forest that is just open and vast. So in 2018, we make our way to the crash site. Merle does his investigation. Mark is there as our armed guard because in our area, there is a lot of animals that want to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
There's grizzly bears, black bears, mountain lions. Some of the biggest mountain lions in North America are found in that area. You have even scarier than the mountain lions is if you were to encounter a bull moose or even a mother moose with her calf with her. We have wolf packs in that area. We have badgers. We have all sorts of wildlife that could really screw you up. They don't really care for people too much.
Mm-hmm.
So when we go into areas of the forest, we are always armed.
Right.
Always armed. And we go in there, and Mark's got his gun out, and Merle does the investigation. Merle's like, well, is there any more wreckage to the crash retrieval around here? And we're like, well, we know the wings and the tail section of the plane are about a mile away if you want to walk there. But up here, I don't think so. I think this is it. He goes, well, let's just look around. So we end up taking this little deer trail, and it opens up to this meadow. And Mark, it's Merle leading the way, then myself, and then Mark being our armed guard. So Mark says, we're going to stay here. I'm going to stay here, and you guys go off into the meadow, see if you can find anything. And I got a good line of sight in case any predators come up. We're not even thinking Bigfoot at this time, man.
Mm-hmm.
Not even thinking Bigfoot. And so we do that. Merle and I walk into this meadow, and there's this giant lava boulder right in the middle, like probably a 2-3 ton boulder. Massive rock. We're standing there looking around. I don't see any crash. And all of a sudden, from about 50, 60 feet in front of us in the trees, we hear samurai chatter.
Mm.
You know, whatever it sounded like. It's like that. And I look at Merle and I'm like, did you hear that? And he goes, hear what, Dave? I said, did you hear that noise? And he goes, yep. So I'm like, was that Mark? I don't know. So we yell over at Mark, hey, Mark, was that you? Were you saying something? He goes, no, I didn't say a thing. I said, well, did you hear that? Mark's half deaf. He's like, no, I didn't hear that. Okay. Hello, how are you? Who's there? You know? And all of a sudden again, you know, whatever they sound like.
Mm-hmm.
It happens again. Not even thinking Ronald Moorhead's Sierra sounds.
Right.
Like, oh, that's interesting. So nothing more, no other sounds, no nothing. We walk back to the crash site on the trail that we came in on. Thinking that was strange. Whatever. We're there for a paranormal investigation. Maybe we caught a ghost talking to us or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we go back into the recovery area, which is like a little cul-de-sac. Mark heads into the cul-de-sac and Merle stays kind of on top of this knoll where there's a piece of landing gear there. And he's like, I'm just going to investigate by the landing gear. And I'm kind of in the middle of them, you know, being the happy-go-lucky, this is really kind of cool kind of guy because Mark's got the gun. I'm playing tiddlywinks with my thumb and Merle's got the paranormal gear. And all of a sudden, Merle starts hearing this rustling and bustling. And this is about 20 feet behind him. And he hears like thud, thud, and branches shaking and huffing and puffing. And he's like, there's something here, man. I'm out of here. So I yell down at Mark. I yell, Mark, there, Merle's coming up here, or Merle's coming back. He's got something up here. We need you. And just as that's happened, I'm watching Mark put his backpack down and raise his rifle into the trees right ahead of him because there is something coming at him. Well, you do some studying afterwards. You realize that, you know, many people who are much more experienced than us look into Sasquatch and they realize that there is, you know, these things seem to move in threes or fours and they triangulate you to get you to leave. And if you look at that area, the exit was right in between. So we literally got the hell out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't until about 8 months later, I was preparing to have Ronald Moorhead on SOR. And I heard the Sierra sounds again. And that's when I heard the samurai chatter. And I went, holy cow. And I called up Merle and I'm like, Merle, you got to listen to this. And he's like, dude, that's what we heard.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's exactly what we heard. Now we knew that there was something more to this place than what we originally thought. Now, in 2020, this bugged me from about October of 2018 when this incident happened up until about 2020, where I was like, I just couldn't get it out of my head. We were talking about it on SOR. People were like, hey, have you gone back there? No, I haven't. Well, why don't you go back there, see what's up there? So finally, I'm like, yeah, I am going to go back up there. You know, and so a few friends of mine, and I am Mark included. Merle lives a few hours away, so he didn't come. We just started going up there. And Merle came up again for another investigation. And we literally must have scared a mountain lion out of the area because there's mountain lion tracks all over the place. Mountain lions don't like humans.
Right.
You know, and I didn't really venture into that area too often because I didn't have my firearms license. Like if you're going in with 4 or 5 people, that's different. But if you're going in with 1, 2 people, you know, you need to have some protection there.
Mm-hmm.
Never mind the Bigfoot, it's the animals.
Right.
So, did you want to break, Rob, or did you want to keep going?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So 2020, we decided to make a gifting site there. And the first week we were there, or first day we were there, pardon me, we put up a gifting site. We put it well away from the crash site. And we found this 100-foot fir tree that we decided to set it up on. And I put a couple of trucks in there, like toy plastic trucks. I put some colored glass rocks in there. I put when you go to the dollar store and you buy, there's those giant plastic shaped suckers, but you open it up and there's gummy or balls inside of it. I had a purple of those, and I stuck that in the tree. Okay, and I put a ball in there, a little mini basketball about this big. That I got at the dollar store, and we set it up. And Mark's daughter, Katie, she suffers from autism. But she's so brilliant, and she comes with, and she's like, "Hey, Dad." She talks very, very, very dryly. "Hey, Dad, do you have anything that I can put down?" and Mark's like, "Well, I got a nickel." So he reaches into his pocket. And Mark is the ever investigator. He looks at it. It's a 1965 nickel, which is weird because a plane crash happened in 1965.
Man.
Wow.
Didn't even realize that until after. And she puts it on a log. So if we got the tree here about 12 feet away, there's a log that's lying down, and she puts it on there. Go back a week later, the coin is gone. Okay. Now this is where I say you try and be skeptical with things. Okay. The nickel is gone. So let's think realistically. Pack rats, crows, ravens, they all like shiny objects. Mice like shiny objects. Okay, there's a lot of creatures and critters out there that like and take shiny objects. But what was strange was my son, who was, 2020, he'd have been 7 years old at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Hey, Daddy, who put this coin here?" So we went back to the tree where he was. And on top of that plastic sucker ball that I had stuck in the tree, there is a 2019 nickel sitting on top of that. So
2019. Okay.
Here's the strange part about it. And I talked to Science Bob about this, and if people don't know Science Bob's resume, please go look up Dr. Flyer. I told him the story, showed him the picture that we took of the nickel sitting on top of this. He goes, "Dave," I said, "maybe somebody put it out there. I don't know. I'm not saying it's Bigfoot. Maybe somebody put it out there." He goes, "Dave," he goes, "I think you're wrong." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Dave, you're missing the obvious." I said, "Well, what's that?" He goes, "When a human being puts something on top of something, they put it in a place where it's not going to move. It's not going to fall and break or fall." He goes, "Take your cell phone, for instance." He goes, "Are you going to put your cell phone on a ledge where all of a sudden it's going to fall off?"
Right.
You're going to put it on something flat where it's not going to fall. You could shake it, whatever. It's not going to fall.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He goes, "Who would put a nickel on a round plastic ball about 2 inches wide?" So the ball is only like this big.
Yeah, right.
Top. Any rain, snow, sleet, wind, tree branch falling, twig falling, animal running, rubbing up against it, anything would have blown that nickel off.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And here it is sitting there in plain view. And
that is
Bob,
wild.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so Bob says, Dave, the other coincidental thing is a 1965 nickel disappears and a 2019 nickel, the year doesn't matter of the nickel, but another nickel appears on top of one of your toys. In your area where there is so few people and even fewer in the gifting site, why would they, a human, just reach out in the middle of nowhere, pull a nickel from their pocket, a nickel of all coins from their pocket, and put it on top of the toy?
Right.
Where it's going to fall, it's going to get knocked over. It doesn't make sense.
Nope.
So, the mystery of the nickel. We go back a couple weeks later, and the basketball, which I had tucked in this brush beside the tree, was now out in front of the tree. I picked it up, and there were fingerprints on it. And this was in November. My hands were freezing. It was a cold day. I like an idiot, I forgot gloves.
Mm-hmm.
And so my hands started shaking. I'm taking a picture of this ball like this, and my hand is shaking because it's cold and it's kind of damp. My phone goes to slip. I grab the phone and my ball and pull it right into my chest for safety.
Okay.
Well, guess what comes off the ball? Damn fingerprints.
Mm.
And they were greasy. They were oily. And you could tell it wasn't like sap from a tree or tree oil or dirt or anything along those lines. You could tell. And I have zero evidence. I got a photo of it, but I have zero evidence of it. And here I was trying to be so careful with that ball until, typical karmic law got me in the ass there.
Wow.
So we decided a week later to put up a trail cam. Went back, put up a trail cam, left the trail cam up there for 8-9 days. Not a single photo.
Wow.
Not a single photo. We left the gifting site there. Eventually, the vehicles disappeared. We found one of them, or found two of them, and the nickel disappeared. Don't know where that went. Probably a pack rat or a raven or something along those lines. And eventually the purple toy or the purple plastic sucker was ripped from the tree, and we found it broken and shattered, like an animal may have grabbed it and then dropped it and stepped on it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up cleaning that up actually earlier this year. We cleaned that up. So Flight 21 has been, this is 2020. It had been nagging me. We kept on going back up there. And one of the things that we had noticed over the years was that you never hear the birds.
Mm.
You're in the middle of the forest and you don't hear the birds. You hear the birds all around, like way off in the distance, but over the location, you don't hear the birds. So, yeah. Would you mind if I took like a 2-3 minute break? I just got to, do man.
No, I understand that. Go for it, Dave. Because I wanted you to tell the story without my interruptions.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't want to give you. If you want to take a 2 or 3 minute break, go on. Because what I can do with Krista, we can promote our conference while you take a drink.
Do that. I'll be right back, and then I'll get to part 2 of this where it gets real hairy.
Perfect.
Oh, part 1, everybody, was just a warm up. This fascinating story, Dave Scott, Spaced Out Radio. Please subscribe if not already. Thanks to everybody coming on in. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Mr. Rob on YouTube, Krista, Lies and Booze Paranormal Podcast, Text from Texas Front Porch, Donnie Cho Says Stuff, World Bigfoot Central's in the house, Monica Rollins, Our Paranormal World. And speaking of, Paranormal Paul, and yes, Krista, Gary Spikes, thank you. We have a conference coming up, everybody. We're gonna let Dave kind of rest his voice because we had a good New Year's Eve. I'm not gonna lie, he was telling me backstage, and that's all I'm gonna say. Let him get some water. So perfect segue into Krista, what we got going on. For those of you just coming on in, please hit that like button. We got a conference coming up, Krista.
We do in about 9 months.
Yeah, the Crossing Realms Conference. UFOs, Paranormal, and Cryptid, September 19th and 20th, Eagleton Civic Center, Richmond, Missouri. And everybody, the tickets, they're very inexpensively priced, especially for our lineup, you guys. I mean, we got a lineup of guest speakers and also just special guests are going to hang out with us. Our ghost hunt is already sold out. Of course, I'll be there. Krista, Brandy, Tex, Donnie, Paranormal Paul, Miss Diva, and Monica will be there. But our speakers are Josh Hurd, Heather Mosier from Small Town Monsters, Frankie and Dan from the Paranormal or the Haunted Garage. They're bringing a paranormal car there. Tex is the master of ceremonies. William Lunsford speaking there. Greg Ogles is speaking there. Ronald Murphy is speaking there, Lady Ann Celine. And of course, Dr. Dean Bertram, who's fascinating. He loves the weird, the strange. He'd be doing a report or a talk on UFOs. Brad Thomas is a special guest. Ken Gerhardt, a special guest. Dana Stricker. And of course, Krista, we've added a couple more, which I got to write down.
Well, I did just put in the poster that Jason has started, although Jason is going to kill me because we've added more people to it.
Oh,
so I did throw that poster on your thing. If you,
yeah, I got to find my phone. I talked.
Oh, here I got it. I got it for you. This one, that one.
Crossing Realms Conference. Okay, very cool. Oh, special guest Ken Gerard, Dana Stricker, Brent Thomas, Mike. I can't read that.
Familiar.
Ryan Edwards, he's from Texas.
Yeah. And we've also added Chris Garitano that is not on there yet, but he will be.
And of course, the hosts are Tex, Brandy and Krista, Monica, Paranormal Paul, Danielle Diva, BMR, Jason McLean, Donnie Cho, Randy Gilbert. We're all going to be there as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
Me too.
You know. And we have a ghost hunt on top of all this. Tickets are already sold out, and all of the speakers are attending. Our guest featured folks are also joining us. They're not just going home after the conference. It is a 2-day event, everybody, and I'm really.
If y'all are in the area,
I'm excited. I really am
for the conference. Yeah, because we still have tickets available for the conference portion. We have tickets available for the meet and greet as well. So definitely come on over and see us, and it'll be a good time. Be a great time actually, because Chris Garitano has. We're going to be. You'll get the meet and greet. You'll get. I think we're doing some pizza dinner or something, and all the speakers and the special guests. But and then 8:00. We will be watching Chris Garitano's new film that he's putting out. So everybody will get a peek at that. And then, Scary Spikes, the vending area is free. And we are also looking for more vendors. So anybody interested in being a vendor, look us up. I don't care if you have paranormal merch or, if you sell Tupperware, we don't care. Come on.
Yeah, no, that's available for everybody. It's going to be great. It's a 2-day event. So yes, come on down. Vendor tables available.
Yep.
A great lineup, great people coming on in, or going to Missouri. And again, it's relatively inexpensive. Hell, our ghost hunt sold out already, and we just started this December 1st, the marketing of it. So that's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And Gary Spike said he'll be there with walking sticks, and I personally have a walking stick from Gary. So
I do as well. I do, Gary.
Yep.
Yes, I do as well. Piggy got that for me at our conference we were at in Alabama. And of course, Gary knows how much I appreciate him and his hard work because they're very beautiful. In fact, I don't even want to use it as a walking stick because I don't want to get it dirty. It's a nice piece of, it's a nice, it's just nice for the man cave. It really is. So thank you. Thank you for that. I also got to thank everybody for the super chats. As I mentioned your names a couple of times, I do appreciate that. Thank you. If you're new, please subscribe. Subscribe to Dave Scott Space Out Radio. It's on 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 12 in East, 9 Pacific, as well on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday. And I'm sorry, Dave, because I know I should have known that you had the pipes, and I know you can talk, but I know that it was a little different yesterday. I apologize. When you said, "Hey, you want to take a break?" That should have been my first clue. I apologize for that.
Oh, don't worry. Don't worry.
But this is fantastic, and
I just had to get a glass of water.
I understand that, and I get it. Before you get on, though, I just want to ask you something, and it's totally relevant. Do you think there is a significance or a parallel between the crash of the unfortunate departed and Bigfoot at all, and what you've been experiencing? Do you think they're directly related?
100%.
Okay.
There is, you know what? I'm not going to say 100%. I'm going to say about 98%.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that there is, in this area at least, and in talking to other guests over the years, there always seems to be cryptid activity around places of death and tragedy. You know, how many times, Rob or Krista, have you guys heard of cases where, you know, people go visit their loved one in a cemetery and they see a Bigfoot or a dogman in that area?
Yes.
I believe with 98% of my thought on it, that in this area, the Sasquatch are almost guardians of that area, watching over the spirits, watching over the tragedy that happened there. So yes, I think there is a connection there. But wait, there's more. Right?
Yes,
so this is where we kind of get into 2023. In 2023, myself, Samantha Mowat, and Merle decided that, you know, we wanted to take some cameras and start shooting some locations. And so we decide on our list that Flight 21 was going to be on that, because, you know, one of the things when I look at television, let's take the paranormal. Krista, you're going to have a laugh here, and I know you're going to start nodding here momentarily. Okay. How many years in a row have we seen Waverly Hills, Gettysburg, Bobby Mackey's on every television show? It's just a different cast of characters doing the exact same investigation at the exact same location.
Absolutely.
Every year, they're well, we're heading to Bobby Mackey's on Route 66 here, and it's really haunted, and we're going to go find the ghosts there. Okay, well, every other television show has already done it. So one of my pet peeves about paranormal and cryptid television is they're always going to the same locations that every other team has. And so we decided that we were just going to, you know, for shits and giggles, we were going to go in and just start shooting some locations that we know haven't been done. And we chose Flight 21 because what happened to Merle and I in 2018. So in 2023, we have 2 cameramen come up from San Francisco, 1 director, and we have an armed guard there named Mike come with us, and we decide to go into the investigation with an open mind. So we shot it over a weekend, and the first night that we were there, we did some investigation, we did some walking around, and Merle wanted to go way back in behind the trees where we had heard the samurai chatter. So we followed the trail out to past our gifting site tree and kind of into, there's like this cathedral of trees that kind of makes this path. Originally, that trail was very open, but now it's been covered over by, fallen trees and branches that have broken off and all this. So it's kind of difficult to navigate there now. And one of the things you first notice when you go back there is this is like moose territory. And for anybody who is adventuring out the forest, those who do, you'll understand with what I'm saying. Okay. Learn your poop. It's one of the most important lessons of nature. If you're going out into the forest, learn your poop.
Yep.
Learn what deer droppings look like, what bear droppings look like, what grizzly bear droppings look like, what mountain lion droppings look like, what wolf droppings or coyote droppings look like. So moose droppings, they look like giant chocolate covered almonds. The kids who go around, for fundraisers for their baseball team or football team.
Yeah.
They sell you those box of chocolate covered almonds.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, if you multiply the size of that by about 10, that's what moose droppings look like.
Oh boy, Dave, and I love that candy. Now I've got a bad picture
dude,
now.
You're eating moose poop every time you buy it.
Oh God! Now I know for sure.
So we find this meadow, and Merle decides with the team that we should investigate that meadow at night. Okay. So it starts getting dark. It's probably around 10, 11 o'clock at night. And we walk into this meadow and we're putting glow sticks up so we can find our way out. And we get to the meadow and all of a sudden, now I have really bad tinnitus where the ringing in my ears. I don't hear a lot of soft noises anymore. But Merle, Samantha, and the two cameramen start hearing talking in the forest. Now, remember, once again, for people who just joined us, we're 40 miles into the forest.
Yeah.
There's nobody there. Nobody there. And we're not just in the 40 miles in. We're off a main road, okay, like 2 miles, 3 miles off a main road, taking a small trail that could barely fit a vehicle through. Okay, like we're in the middle of the dense brush. Now, to paint a picture, this whole area is probably that we're investigating is probably the size of a football field, if not smaller. It's not a big area. So Merle and them start hearing voices, and it's male and female voices, loud enough that they can hear it, but quiet enough that we can't make out what they're saying. And I can't hear it, so I don't know. I'm going by their words. Merle then, lays out some of his paranormal equipment, which includes one of those light strands, those purple light strands that have become popular. It's about 16 feet long. And here we are in the middle of the forest. There's no electricity, no power lines, no cell phone towers, nothing. You don't even get cell phone signal in that area. And these lights in between us are going off. And we're like, you got to be kidding me here. Like, we are in the middle of the forest and these lights are going off on the equipment.
Wow.
And we start hearing, like, you'd hear little branches breaking, like if you step on a branch and the wood breaks, the twigs break underneath your shoes. We start hearing that. And Merle turns and he swears he sees a shadow person walking through the trees behind us.
Wow.
So Mike, our very overzealous bodyguard, cocks his shotgun very loudly, which isn't very good for camera. And he starts, Mike's not the quietest guy in the forest, let's just say that. And God bless him, I love the guy, but can't shoot with him. Right?
Yeah.
Shoot on camera, that's for sure. But he makes us feel safe. So Merle then calls out after hearing a little bit more noise and the lights going off again. Merle says, if you were trying to contact the shadow that I just saw, if you could show, by showing us that you're here, if you could pull down the glow stick on the tree, let's see what you can do. Something along those lines.
Okay.
And be damned if all of a sudden, like 5 minutes later, we're watching behind us and Merle sees the shadow. I don't see it. Merle does. Sees the shadow pull the glow stick down by about 1.5 feet. Now, I'm the one who put the glow stick on the tree, and I'm not a tall guy. I got these short little penguin arms. So the glow stick was sitting at about 7.5 feet up. Okay. And by the time we got back to it, it was down to about 6 feet. And we were like, okay, we gotta get back to camp. We gotta get back to camp. So we go back to camp. We light up camp with all of our gear and everything, make this area look absolutely beautiful. And we decide that we're going to put me under the Estes method.
Oh.
Well.
So here I am sitting on a log, and we've got everything lit up. It's just phenomenal. I'm going to see if I can find a picture of this for you. Everything's looking like real pro, real, very exciting kind of stuff. And when did we shoot this? We shot that June or July? It was July. So, wrong way. So just to give you kind of like a look of what the log. Now this is a picture of Merle, but this is kind of like how we lit up the forest right there.
Yep.
And Merle
Okay.
sitting on the log that I'm sitting on.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So in the Estes method, you take, for people who don't know, you kind of take away your hearing and noise canceling headphones, and you take away your sight with an absolute tight black blindfold. So you can't, there's no light source coming in. The theory is somebody stands off in the distance, you can't hear their questions, they start answering questions, and you hope that through the headphones, which is playing a radio signal, real fast speed radio signal, tick, 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 in your ears, that you could actually hear it. Now, one of the benefits that we have out in the forest over there is we don't have radio signals here. Our one small town radio station in town, which plays canned music, you can't get the signal from where we are.
Oh, okay.
So you're listening to an absolutely blank FM band. You know, it's not like if you're driving through, driving the I-5 from Seattle down to LA where, there's a radio station every time you tick the dial. It's not like that. So it's completely natural. And the thought is you'd actually hit some voices on there. Well, I didn't get any voices. But what I started seeing underneath the blindfold is what really, really captivated us. So at first I started seeing out of the corner of my eye. Now, remember, I've got a blacked out blindfold on. I cannot see any light. I cannot hear anybody around me. Nobody's shining a flashlight in my face. And I start seeing in the blindfold this bright white orb, like right here. And, I could turn and I could see it, but it was so bright, it was actually making me squint under the blindfold. That's how bright it was.
Jeez.
Wow.
Then I started seeing kind of like a ticker tape of gray alien heads floating by, just one after the other. And then I started seeing, first time I've ever seen this was reptilian eyes.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't want to interrupt you, Dave, on that because it's on top of my head. And Krista, with that Estes method, I've heard this several times with people where they get an alien representation and even the reptilian. I think I remember that.
It's two different. It's the ones I'm used to hearing about. I've never heard it with an Estes. That's why I'm really captivated by this.
Okay.
But it's the God's helmet that I had.
Okay, I knew it was one of the two.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Dave, but
no problem.
It flared up. Okay,
no problem. So I started saying, okay, guys. So the key is, if you're the person under the Estes method, you are dictating what you are hearing or seeing. Okay. And in my case, I kept on saying to the guys, I'm not getting anything. I'm not hearing any voices, nothing, but this is what I'm seeing. And I start describing the orb of this white orb that I am seeing. And at that moment, when I am describing the orb, I guess someone around me started looking into the sky and saw a white orb, probably 500, 1,000 feet in the sky, hovering over top of us. And that orb started to come down.
Wow.
And it came down and it went from an orb to a ring, where all of a sudden the ring dissipated and disappeared.
Wow.
Okay, that's kind of cool. After that, it started getting a little creepy out there. Samantha was like, guys, the spirits are a little bit anxious right now. They would like us to leave. Samantha is incredibly intuitive, one of the best I've ever met in my life, if not the best that I have ever met. And she's like, I think we should pick it up and come back tomorrow. Not a problem. So we pack up our gear. We let the location know that we will be back tomorrow. And that's what we did. We went home. Mm-hmm. We back to my place. We charged up all the batteries and we went back the next day. So the next day we got there at about 4:00 in the afternoon. We kind of sat around, figured out what we were going to shoot. And about 7:00, 7:30, because it's still daylight out. Mm-hmm. You know, this is middle of July. It's still daylight out. And we are figuring, okay, well, last night was incredible. Hopefully we get some good stuff tonight, blah, blah, blah. The old small talk. Cameramen are testing their gear out and all this kind of stuff. And about 7:45, I start getting this feeling like we're being watched.
Wow.
And Krista, you'll understand when I say this. When you two, Rob, people listening, I shouldn't even have said that. I apologize.
Yeah.
When you have an encounter with something, at least, it doesn't matter whether it's Bigfoot, ghosts, or whatever. You can walk into somewhere and all of a sudden pick up the energy of whatever it is.
Absolutely.
So, considering what had happened the night before, I had started picking up what felt like UFO/alien energy in the forest. I called Samantha over and I said, Samantha, I'm getting something that feels alien in the trees over here. We need to check this out. And she goes, yeah, I am too. She goes, in fact, I've been feeling it for quite a while. And she goes, it feels totally alien. So we start walking down the main path, and we get about halfway between our camp and the exit. And Samantha and I turn, we're looking in that location, but there's something weird happening. And that is, we are feeling vibration under our feet.
Wow.
Once again, there's no power lines under the ground there. There's no power lines over top. There's no cell phone towers. There's nothing electric. But we are feeling it through our shoes like vibration in the ground.
Hmm.
So we call over the director and the 2 camera people. The director feels it. One of the camera people feels it. The other one does not. We kind of figured that it was probably because he was a Marine
Mhm.
and he was still wearing jump boots. When he worked, he wore his jump boots because they were comfortable.
Wow.
So we figured with the thicker soles of those jump boots, he just wasn't feeling it. So we decide that we are going to get the cameras. We're going to start filming this and we're going to start investigating. So what happens is the trail is kind of like a 90-degree angle. So if up here is base camp, okay, we're going to head down here to the path. If we were to go this way, we would exit, but we're going to make the 90-degree turn. So if we went from here to here, it's only about maybe 40, 50 yards. Okay. So we start walking down. We get the vibration about here. We come down to the trail. We turn off to go to this secondary trail. And we get about, from the point here of the turn, we get about 200 feet this way. And we're getting the feeling like we're being watched big time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And all of a sudden now, this way is south. From the southwest, we are getting all of a sudden way off in the distance. There is this incredibly loud roar. And this roar lasted at one pitch for about 15, maybe 20 seconds.
Jeez.
Okay.
Wow.
And in between us, this is an area where a lot of ranchers will free range their cattle. Okay. And this roar scared the cattle so bad. The cattle, you could hear them way off in the distance, mooing like anything. Like, let's get the hell out of here. Communicating with each other. Let's get the hell out of here after this roar. So we could still feel. So if we're over here on this path, we're over here, we could still feel something in this area. So we decide that, you know what, guys, let's get back. Let's get set up. Okay, we just heard the Sasquatch roar. Let's get back to camp. I said, I think we have something that's going to happen here big time. We got to be prepared. So we start walking back to camp, and we get about 50 feet, 60 feet from the turn to come back up to camp. And all of a sudden we hear this deep guttural grrr. And that is coming from base camp.
Wow.
So now we're thinking there's 7 of us. We got one gun, and now there's a bear in our camp.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Now we're thinking bear. So we kind of start walking fast, going back to get to the trail to come back up to camp. And I'm looking through the trees because the trees are sparse. You can see through them. We could see, my vehicle because I have a red Jeep. We could see my red Jeep up there. Okay. And we've got $30,000 worth of camera equipment there. All of our food is there. All of our clothing, everything that we have right there. And as we're walking and I'm looking, all of a sudden I stop.
Mm-hmm.
And I see this brown thing in the trees.
Oh man.
And it is shaped like this, like the outside of a number 8. If you were to do like an outside of it.
Yeah.
And it is matte brown color. And I stop there for a second. I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Is there hair on it? No, there's no hair on it. That's not a Bigfoot. What the hell is that? And at the top left of the corner, I could see as the sun was shining down. Well, what color makes brown? What colors make brown? Yellow, green, orange, and black. Make the color brown. And at the top left of it, I could see those colors being like from the sun hitting it. That's when I knew it was. I knew it was metal.
Mm.
And I stopped and I said to my team, what the F is that? And they're like, what? And I'm pointing at it right there. And they're like, we don't see it. I said, it's right there. Look to the right of the tree. It's right there. But something caught their attention.
Wow.
They start seeing movement through the trees. And all 6 of them see about a 6-foot alien gray walking through the trees.
Oh boy.
Dang.
This
Now
is
remember,
not everything.
this is 7:45 at night or in the evening. And in my area, it is still bright sunshine because I'm higher up
Yeah.
on the, it's summertime and we get a late night sun. Like it's sunny here until, like dusk starts happening at like 10:30 at night.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Wow.
At that time of year. And so I never saw the alien. I saw the craft.
So the figure 8 was a craft, we're assuming here, correct?
I'm assuming because here's the thing. I'm like, where's the alien? Where's the alien? We were kind of moving with him as this thing's walking through the trees. I never saw the alien. So I walked back 10 feet, 15 feet to where I saw the craft or whatever it was, and it's gone. Like vanished. There's nothing there.
Wow.
Okay. So we go back to base camp after this. The alien just kind of vanishes. We rush back to base camp thinking bear, and none of our stuff is touched.
Oh, wow.
So we are theorizing now, whether we're right or not, there was no signs of bears anywhere. Now, if you know black bears, okay, because black bears in our area are much more common than grizzly bears. If you know black bears, you know that the sound of people scares them off. The sound of multiple people usually scares them off. Yes, there's the odd curious bear. Yes, there is the odd curious, where they'll go in to where people are sitting at a picnic table having a beer or fishing or whatever. Okay, yes, that does happen. But very rarely. Bears are usually spooked. Black bears especially are very spooked easily. And they don't like the smell of humans. Especially if they're deep in the wild, they're not used to humans and the smell of humans.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd already been there at this point almost 4 hours. So our sound and our odor would have literally captivated that area. But nothing was touched at camp. So what we theorize is that we were actually warned by whatever it was at camp, believing it may have been a Sasquatch, warning us about the alien and the UFO in the forest.
Wow.
This encapsulates like everything that any show wants, because you encapsulates, first of all, the disaster of the plane crash with the paranormal element. And then we've got Bigfoot, we've got the alien, the Bigfoot perhaps warning you of the alien gray or whatever we perceive it to be. All of this area, this is so fascinating, Dave. I'm so glad you shared that, because I could go 2 hours and just pick your brain on this. We don't have the time for that, maybe down the road, and I'll hear you when you do it again. This, Chris, I'll let you, because you know me, diarrhea of the mouth sometimes. You got a couple of things you want to ask Dave? Because I know you do. I've seen you jotting notes down.
Yeah, it goes back to, I'm really intrigued by when you were doing the Estes method and seeing things and not hearing. So I guess my question is, do you feel like maybe with listening to the white noise, it put you in a meditative state?
Yeah, I do believe that. I do believe that. But, the one thing about me that I know of, because in 2024, we went back and I did the Estes method there again. And I was actually capturing voices this time. I wasn't seeing any. but I honestly can't remember
Mhm.
what I'd heard, but um I do believe that it does kind of put you in a trance. But the problem that I have with it is I get frustrated really fast.
Mhm.
I need patience because you're
Sure.
not working on your timeline, you're working on their timeline and whether or not they trust if you want to communicate or not.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I've never heard that with the Estes method, and that's something honestly, like maybe try with different experiments. Really try to put yourself in a meditative state, because when I've done it, I'm not trying to see anything. I'm just trying to listen. Listening to the white noise. So that's why I really find that intriguing, and I think it's really cool because I know several people who have done the God's helmet, and they saw like the aliens and things like you did. So I'm wondering if it's, I don't know, going to the same realm there mentally.
I don't know. I
Mhm.
mean,
No.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
I would assume so. I think that's logical to think that,
Mhm.
but I honestly don't know.
Yeah. Interesting.
Right?
You know, referring back to an earlier question, is why do these things happen to all of us, right? In this particular instance, Dave, it's so fascinating, and I'm just wondering why this was allowed for you and your group to experience. I always ask that. I always wonder why
Mhm.
certain things happen to others and for other people not. And with this incident, which is fantastic, thank you ever so much for this. If you had to summarize this as why you think this happened or what you think the reasoning is behind it, what would you? I know we don't have much time left. We're coming up in another few minutes here, but how would you encapsulate this if you had to give a brief school synopsis?
Rob, I have thought about that exact same question for about the last 5 years.
Okay, gotcha.
And that is why in 2025, I am embarking on my first ever research project.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I have so for the past 3 months, I've been haunted by that location.
Mhm.
Haunted. After what happened in 2024, I've been haunted by the location. And I've decided that once the snow melts in May, I'm going to allow the phenomenon to dictate what wants to happen there. And in 2024, we had when we went back there with a cameraman again, and we actually camped out there. And the first 2 nights, outside of Merle seeing a ghost walking through the trees when we first got there over by the crash debris, we had nothing happen for 2 days. Nothing.
Mm.
And we camped out there. On the third day, we decided to pack up and go back to my place, get some proper sleep, charge all of our batteries. The weirdest thing that happened was that our batteries, we packed 5 days of batteries that were dead after day 2. And we went back. This was a Sunday, and we went back on the Sunday evening. We get everything up there. We set up what we want to do, and we have a tent that's covering all of our stuff, and we get hit with a torrential downpour. Just a torrential downpour for about an hour 15 minutes.
Mhm.
And after that happened, in that same area a year previous, where I started feeling that we were seeing or feeling the aliens, where I saw the UFO on the ground,
Mhm.
I started picking up something in there again. And I called Samantha over and I said, "Hey, we got something happening here." And she starts picking it up, and it's totally cryptid. Totally
Oh
cryptid.
boy. Mm.
So I start walking into the trees, and I'm hesitant. Like, I am taking baby steps here. Okay. And I'm like, hello, I know you're here. Show me where you are. Come say hi. Nothing. So once again, base camp is up here. We come down here, we make the turn, and we can hear whatever it is in the trees here following us as we walk the path.
Wow.
And when we stopped, it stopped. And we start walking down the path here. Samantha looks down. And remember the torrential downpour that we just had.
Mm-hmm.
There is in the ground there was very, very dry. But this really brought like a very thin layer of dirt to the top of the tree. And Samantha sees a 17-inch track that's fresh in the dirt there.
Wow.
So we continue on. We mark the track. We continue on down the path. It comes like this, and we can hear the creature over here. And then the path kind of turns up like that. When we hit that turn, the creature seemed to stop, but we picked up bear energy over here, and all of a sudden there was bear tracks. You could hear a bear just inside the trees. And Mark's such an idiot. He's so brave. He's like, come on out. Come on out. Come say hi. Come on out. Hey, bear. Do it, right? And it's freaking the bear out because you could actually hear the bear getting freaked out that it's hearing this human calling it.
Yeah.
And you can hear the bear running deeper into the trees. So we go back. And now so we're down here. We start heading back to camp. Now it feels like the energy of whatever it was here before has now moved up here towards our camp.
Wow.
Okay. We walk past the original footprint that Samantha just found. We come back up, get to camp. We sit under the tent thinking, okay, well, we got this. What are we going to shoot now? What's happening? And Mark, our armed guard, is walking around our tent, and he goes, no bloody way.
Huh.
He looks down 10 feet from our tent. There is another fresh 17-inch track right by our tent.
Wow.
Now, we were only gone about 20 minutes. Okay. So in 20 minutes, that track appeared. And you could tell that it was fresh because of the torrential rain and the thin layer of wet dirt.
Wow.
Okay. So it's pointing up this trail. Samantha and I go to start walking up this trail. We're filming this. And we get to this piece of landing gear where in 2018, Merle was chased out of that spot. And there's a tree there. And leaning against this tree is this 8-foot staff. And the staff, now remember, we just had torrential rain.
Yep.
The staff is bone dry.
Oh, wow.
And not only is it dry, at about 2.5, 3 feet up from it, you can actually see a marking, because we all believe, people in the Sasquatch community who are way more experienced than I am always say that Sasquatch's handprints are very wet. They're like they're greasy handprints.
Yeah.
But you can see the grease marks on the staff. Okay. There is not a branch off of this staff. It is straight as an arrow.
Mm-hmm.
And at the bottom of it, here's the weird part. At the bottom of it, it looks like it is twisted and has fresh dirt on it.
Wow.
Okay. So we figured that staff was left there for Merle because of what happened in 2018.
Yeah.
Okay. So we end up, where am I here? 2024. We end up taking it. We took it because we figured it was a gift for Merle. And I just want to show you, if I can find it here. We were there. No, we're back here. Show you a picture of the staff. All right. So there in Merle's hand is the picture of the staff.
Okay, I see it.
Mhm.
Okay, now
I actually seen at the bottom was dirt.
you see there's the bottom.
Yeah,
You can't tell me that isn't fresh.
that's wet, fresh looking to me right off the bat. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So here's the weird part about that staff is we actually have it on film because we used that trail about 4 or 5 times when we were filming,
Mm-hmm.
and there was no staff there in the previous videos,
Wow.
the previous footage. So we sit down at camp. Samantha and myself do the Estes method again. Merle does it. We start getting some EVPs and all sorts of stuff. And then all of a sudden, we start hearing noises all around us. Okay. And we could hear things moving, like circling us in the bushes. And at about 12:30, 12:45, our armed guard Mark says, we got to go. It's time. And we could hear one probably within 20 yards of us by the crash site. It was the scariest freaking thing I've ever had happen, is knowing that we were being stalked. So we fill up our vehicles. We get, I have to go in first with all the gear, and Merle, we quickly, and as we're coming up the gully towards where Samantha's truck is parked, Merle sees the ghost from night number 1 sitting in Samantha's vehicle.
Sitting in the vehicle.
Sitting in the passenger seat of the vehicle. So we kind of freak. I didn't see it. He freaks out. I have to leave him there because I have to go get everybody else. So we quickly throw everything on the ground that was in my Jeep, and Merle hops into the vehicle, locks the doors. Well, I'm going back into the gully and back up to get to the crash site to get to the rest of the team. I'm only gone like 3 minutes. Okay, there and back, 3 minutes, not long. Merle said that was the longest 3 minutes of his life because literally he could hear the voices all around the vehicle and tapping on the truck as we were doing this.
Wow.
So we get back up, we load up, and then we realize that Merle forgot one of his tripods for his camera up there. So then we got to go back up, grab the tripod, come back down. I'm the lead vehicle coming out. Samantha pulls out behind me, and I hit this puddle right in front. And just as I hit this puddle, we hear 2 high-pitched, loud whistles, like 30 feet behind us. And then we're like, we're out of here. We're done.
Yeah.
We're done. So in 2025, this year, I am embarking on what I believe is going to be a 2 to 3 year investigation.
Wow.
Of this place.
Fantastic.
And it's nuts. It's literally the scariest place I've ever been to. Like I said earlier, it's probably at maximum the size of a football field, but probably smaller.
Okay, yep.
I like to call it a 60 yard by 60 yard. And I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. Do I feel safe? No. Do I feel like something bad is going to happen? I don't know. I can't answer that. Am I building that up for hyper drama? Not at all.
No, I don't think you are. From what we just heard today, everyone just coming on in, have to watch the replay about this fantastic experience with Dave. I got to tell you, man, I'm going to look forward to watching all this unfold with you because it's got all of the elements, right? It's got everything that anybody that does a podcast or anybody in their real life research or what have you dreams about. All the elements, and there's more behind this, and we'll be hearing a lot more about this, Dave. I'm sure we are, man. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it's a scary, scary place, dude.
Absolutely.
It is something that I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I really don't. And, you know, it is so different from my other Sasquatch area that I have, Rob.
Yep.
This is very claustrophobic in there. It's way too quiet. My other area, the Sasquatch there seem a lot more curious,
Okay.
but it's a lot more open.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's a lot more like I don't have from where I park, I don't have the trees right next to me. There's been fire breaks that have been you know, that logging companies have done in that area to try and take down some of the trees, right? For fire breaks. So there's a lot of open space for us to see in there. This place at Flight 21, it is very claustrophobic. And it's been haunting me for the last 3 months. They are giving me snippets of what they would like me to do. They're kind of instructing me to talk to certain people and only have certain people involved in this. I know Merle is going to be involved. I know my friend Tim, our UFO guy, Tim James, is going to be involved. Lee Strauss is going to be involved a little bit. Maybe Samantha Mowat, if she can find time. Because I know there needs to be an intuitive there, but a specific type of intuitive. And I know the first 6 times that we are there, all whoever they are, want us to do is literally pull a lawn chair up to the back of my vehicle and just sit there and watch and wait and be quiet. Now, that may last for half an hour. It may last for 6 hours. I don't know. I am allowing the phenomena to dictate what it wants to happen. I have, kind of responded back to these telepathic, I call them telepathic type messages, where I am saying, okay, just so you know, I'm filming everything. They know, whoever they are, know that this area scares me. It scares me like anything.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I need to tackle that. And I also know, like I said, that this is going to be a long-term project.
Yeah.
It isn't something to shoot over the weekend. And we're going to see where it goes. And hopefully we end up getting something out of this, because there's too much there in order to try and figure out what's happening.
I can't wait, Dave. I just can't wait. It's got everything in this, and I think that this project you're about to, I tell you what, I can tell, the way you told the entire story tonight, I can tell, buddy. I can tell you're into this and you're apprehensive, but at the same time, you want to know. And I can't wait to just follow this once you start with that, because
yeah,
I got so many questions. We got another 2 hours of other things going on tonight, but man, go ahead.
It's scary.
Yeah.
It really is. And yes, we will be armed.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to be. Yeah.
Yeah. I will, just for the record though.
Yeah.
I will never raise a firearm to the Sasquatch.
Right.
I don't care if they rip my arm off and beat me with it. Okay. I will never do that. Now, when we say we're going in armed, we are going in there for protection from apex predators. Okay. Apex predators being grizzly bears, black bears, moose, wolves, mountain lions. That's what the guns are for.
Right.
Okay. It is not for them. I would never raise a gun to them. Now, if one was attacked, now that being said, there's gray areas to everything. If all of a sudden there's one attacking Tim James, and if I come across that one attacking, would I hesitate to put a shot to it? Not at all. But I don't think that they are like that. I think that they just have very stern rules about protecting that area. And I think there's a story there that needs to be investigated and needs to be told. We will be, we're going to try everything. I will not gift food in that area because it'll drive too many other animals to that area.
Mhm.
But we've gifted toys there in the past. We may try that again. We're going to try offerings like tobacco, sage, things like that to see what else we could do. I'm thinking, we may bring up a First Nations person to maybe do some drumming in that area for peace and love.
Mhm.
Okay, there's a lot that we need to do, and this project is going to be eating up a lot of my personal time over the next couple years as we delve into this. Now, I'm not going to be out there every weekend because I think I'm going to need a break, just like they are going to need a break.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
But we're going to be out there quite frequently, and unfortunately for us up here, we have seasons. So by the time the snow melts, it's going to be May when we
Yeah.
start, mid-May when we start, and we only have until probably in that area mid-November, early December to get into that area, depending on how much snow has fallen by then. So we have to be ready to be in and out, and when it gets to November, you really don't want to investigate in those times because it's cold up here.
Yep.
Mhm.
So and I only have one vehicle that can get in there. That's my Jeep.
Right.
Mhm.
So it's difficult.
What I love about this is you mentioned this is a project, something you're going to thoroughly think about, plan you're going to be meticulous about it, and I think it's going to be a great investigation. I think it's going to be a fabulous experience for you, Dave, and I can't wait. And I got to thank you for coming on. And before we go, in conclusion, what's going on Space Out Radio tonight? I'm sure you're on, correct?
No, I actually took tonight off.
You took tonight off. Okay.
You know what? It's really rare, but I actually took the Christmas break and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day off. So we're going to get back at it tomorrow night. I mean, it's
Okay.
so rare that we've actually done that.
Hey, I hear you.
But we're gonna get back at it tomorrow night, and John Mylor is the guest, and then our Keith Andrews to end it up on Friday before we hand over the studio to Sweet Robbie G for an incredible weekend that he is going to do with the weekend show after hours. So there's a lot of really good things coming up here, really quick, and 2025 is going to be a busy year for all of us, and thank you, Rob. I always say yes to you when you want to have me on, and I always appreciate your time.
Yep, and I'll be reaching out to you to come on Blondes too. So
okay, I can do that, even though I've never been
invited. Here we go.
Dave, and like I say, Dave, I always appreciate when you do take out the time.
Mm-hmm.
Especially today after, having a pretty good day last night. And we're not going to get into that. We all know what we're talking about here. Thank you so much. This is a great show. I'm so glad you shared that for the very first time with me and Kristen, of course, our audience, because, boy, I'll be thinking about, you know what I'm going to do, Dave, after I sign off with you? First thing I'm going to do is run over to the Blondes and the Booze, because they're on right now with Brandy and the guys doing their thing on Wednesday. We went a little over today, but it was well worth it because of having Dave on. Special day. We don't do Wednesday shows. Thank you, Maggie, for that super sticker. And really quickly, then, that does remind me. Thanks to Maggie. Let's see, really quick. Thank you to Maggie, Barbara, Kelly, Paranormal Pixie, Diane, and Scott for your super chats and memberships. Most appreciated. Love y'all. I want to wish everybody a great, happy new year. If you're new, subscribe to Dave Scott Spaced Out Radio 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 12 East, 9 Pacific, and on the weekends with Robbie G. Go check them out. Great show, 7 days a week. We're on pretty much 7 days a week. Hit the alert bell, hit a like on your way out. And boy, pray for my mom. I got to give her a call after this show. Go check out the Blonde as soon as we leave this, because I know they got a great, interesting show going on as we speak.
They're talking about feral people.
They're talking about feral people. Nice, nice. With that being said, Dave Scott, appreciate you. I love you. And I will talk to you later. And for Krista, for Dave, this is BMR and see you on the flip side.
See y'all.
If I hit the button, I hit the button.
Are you ready?